Helicopters are everywhere. It's like flying in a hornet's nest. Scores of sick, frail, and elderly people swamp medical clinics. Many are still trapped to doors used as makeshift stretch boards. The floodwaters are now filthy and vicious and smell of petroleum. Its disgusting stew of oil, seawater, feces, rubber tires, house paint, shattered lumber, rotten wood, wading through leaves, chemical burns, people with nasty rashes and infections, swallowing just a drop of the water could make you deathly ill. The dirty water invites infections that can kill. Already some things are flipped upside down there. It looks pretty rough. Just the smell of it can make your eyes water and your throat gas from the some of the rescuers get from Katrina cough. The threat of disease of some of the rescue workers when they were asked about the water-soaked victims, a worker says, "Oh no, we don't touch them." Dogs stagger down the stairs, hungry and thirsty, and lap up disgusting water. Disaster workers are ordered to ignore the pets, and the thousands of animals are separated from the owners, and sometimes at gunpoint. They want their animals. Many people refuse to get on the helicopters because they are not going to leave their pets behind. When you're old and alone, your dog or cat is your family. To ask them to leave them behind is cruel and dumb. Animal lovers will rescue more than 15,000 animals and force government officials to rethink the ban on pet rescues in the future disasters. Woof! Yes, the animals are happy to be with their owners. At the convention center, the crowd is mammoth, just like the handful of police to monitor it. During the interview that evening, FEMA head Michael Brown admits to only just learning of the convention center mayhem. The newsman asks, "Don't you guys watch TV? All those people, and you don't watch TV?" Friday, September 2nd, smoke from several fires washed through the city center explosions like a rock. Nearby chemical storage plants. Rubble and garbage are everywhere, piled up, and it would be 200 times bigger than Egypt's Great Pyramid. The 5 city hospitals is finally evacuated, and several thousand people have been sheltered. They're laying on the floor on their little gurneys. Outside, swollen dead bodies lie in the streets, and they float in the water, face down. We have no orders to collect bodies, but to weigh them down if they are floating and mark the spot where we have nowhere to put them. The president visits the Gulf Coast and New Orleans. Bush finds kind words for FEMA head Mike Brown. "Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job." The president's praise confuses many Americans. President Bush and Governor Blanco quarrel over control of Louisiana National Guard in the city. That's a little childish to be doing that. Saturday, September 3rd, the stench inside the convention center is indescribable, overpowering. It's like solid wall almost pushing you back. Hundreds of buses are eventually arriving in the afternoon. The survivors are taken to shelters all over. One of them is a 77-year-old woman who has spent 5 days at the convention center. Asked where she has been since, she says, "Anywhere. I don't care where you send me." National Guard troops from all over the country patrol the streets and lift the spirits of everyone. Buses finally arrive at the Superdome. Scorching 100-degree heat roasts a line of 10,000 evacuees as they trudge through knee-high trash to board them, and they are so anxious to leave that some urinate when they stand rather than risk losing their place in line. That's sad. You can't get out of line to get on a bus. Thousands of others huddle in the shade of the convention portico, waiting for their turn. Young soldiers, of whom have suffered the same squalid conditions of the evacuees, help old people board the buses. New Orleans is left mostly to soldiers, disaster workers, and the dead corpse. Drift in the floodwaters, lie in the street gutters, and the rest in the rumble. Cement patios and the feet of office buildings. Many are hidden in the houses and attics where the people used to live. Disaster teams search the ruins. Sensitive nose help locate houses with decaying dead people or rotting animals. Afterward, the teams inspected the properties and put X, noting that the rescue team's name, the name of inspection, hazard, and to avoid it because of the number of dead within. 4 months later, 1,100 bodies have been recovered. Most are elderly, and 200 can't be identified. And 50 of the identified are unclaimed in the end, and the death toll is up to 1,400. Hundreds and thousands of Katrina survivors are spread across America, and cities helps, and do private groups and generous individuals. The Red Cross alone shelters 142,500 shelters across the 12 states. Levees are repaired and water is pumped from the city. On October 2nd, New Orleans is dry. But the city didn't snap back to life by 2012. Only 80% of the New Orleans residents had returned. A giant storm surge barrier 2 miles in length and 26 feet high is built to protect the city. It stops 15-foot high waves from swamping the city during hurricane season in 2012. One ruined neighborhood, the lower 9th Ward, is overgrown with plants and weeds and was just 15% of the population it had been before Katrina, but new houses are going up, but atop deeply driven piles, giving them firm roots to stop them from floating away during the next Katrina. The man setting the piles is a born and raised New Orleans person. We're coming back. This is home and this is life. This copyright was 2015 by Don Brown. And it says, to the resilient people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast, we are sorry for all the things that happened to you. This was a very terrible story, and this was a true story. Thank you very much for listening.